And we are live. Hey guys, welcome once again to For Feck's Sake Marketing Adventures with Carmel. And again today it's with Sarah. So we promised we would be back again today. So we were talking this week about copywriting. What is copywriting? We showed you yesterday. If you haven't seen it, go back and have a look at an actual live post that we put in, how we put it in with the structure that we're going to share with you today, so that it actually got engagement. Now it got well over the engagement that it was supposed to be. So it was for 7 spots at that time, and it had 30 or 40 comments on it. So while that may not look like huge comments for something that there was only 7 spots in it, I had to actually turn the comments off. So go back and have a look at that if you haven't looked at it already. And if you're not sure what copywriting is, go back to the one before that. You can come on here in Facebook, or you can hop onto the YouTube channel either. Just search for me, Carmel Murphy. I'm in there somewhere. But so we promised you yesterday we were going to share a structure with you, which the amazing Sarah is going to do it in a bit more of a PowerPoint way to make sure that we're really giving you a high visual of these points. And what does it do when you know this structure? It's, you know, when you sit at the computer, or maybe it's just me, and you go, what am I going to write? I've set out this time in my calendar. I'm being really good and following my calendar. I'm going to write in this time slot. What do I write? What do I say? What, blah, and you don't know. So once you do know your stuff. We know, don't we, Sarah? We know, we actually all know our stuff. Record yourself or brain dump it. And then when you're ready to sit down and write and put it into a structure so that you can get more engagement on social media, this is going to be the structure for you. So over to you, Sarah.
Thank you, Carmel. Yeah, I love it how you talk about this brain dumping process when it comes to writing, because writing can just put up the walls for people and they freak out. Even though, if you think about how much writing we do every day in business, like emails and social posts and all these sorts of things, and reports and proposals, like we write all the time. And somehow we all start to get a bit when it comes to writing for our marketing, because we're actually trying to influence and persuade someone to do something, right? So yeah, I'm just gonna I love the brain dump. If this is you and you're more of a creative person, you just want to write first, do that. I often do that. There's another trick you can do is turn your screen off. So you're literally typing without even seeing what you're writing, because we can often over edit and get all edity before we've even written down what our brain has thought about and those ideas. So that's another thing.
And that's actually a good point you bring up. There's a difference between, like, the reason I say brain, that's just what works for me. Quite often it's a handwritten thing. But there's 2 differences, and I know you taught me this, Sarah. Like, writing is writing, and editing is editing. Don't try and do the 2. And I love that. I'd be typing away if I am typing, and I go, oh no, I have to fix that. Oh no, because you know the way your computer highlights that you've got a bloody spelling mistake or something. And it's like, So don't confuse the 2. Turn off that side of your brain. And it's great, actually, advice to turn off the actual screen if you can type well or write with no judgment, with no anything. Or if you're really stuck, the other idea is to get on your phone and use an app called Otter, because as you talk it puts it into text and you can bring it into a Word document, and then turn on your editing head and look at it that way.
Yeah, and often when I'm writing, I do the writing and then I do the editing. If I'm got the time free, I actually do it like in a couple of days' time. Now that works quite well for that longer sales copy, maybe for, say, a sales page or something like that. For social media, I would still, you know, when we're crafting, like we're talking about these promo posts, the freebie posts, this is a fundamental part of your business. If you're doing organic marketing, this is a strategy. And as much as we want to do things fast, we've got to take that little bit of time to craft as well. So I would say get your idea down of what you think it is that your freebie is and how you want to say it. And then, as you say, bring the structure in and see whether you can take what you've already written in a creative sense and start moving that into the structure. And it'll make a lot more sense when I show you the structure. And then do your editing after that. So don't feel like you have to do everything at once and then it's going to be perfect all at once. It doesn't happen like that, even for someone like me that writes more or less every day. So
yeah, and that was the illusion, because when you talk to a copywriter like yourself, I know my illusion was, oh my God, she just does it like this. But when you taught me the process of what you do, Like it's two separate things. It's like you go blah, 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 and you say whatever it is. And then you always said about having a Word document with just these titles on it, and then moving that across to there, it just made all the difference. And it kind of takes some of the pressure off.
Yeah, just find the way that works for you. Sometimes I, creative write in a journal first or on a whiteboard and then move it into a copy format. Or sometimes I will put these 6 headings in like bright red in my Word document. And then and I've said this yesterday, I don't always write from the top down. So if one section is easier to write for you, you can start wherever you want to start. It's getting the linearness at the end where it brings it all together and makes sense. But you can, because it's a formula and a structure, it's able to be attacked in little chunks, shall we say.
Awesome. Cool, I love that. Attack it in chunks.
Attack it in chunks. So I'm going to assume you can see my screen, Carmel.
Yes, I can indeed.
Okay. Awesome. So this is as part of a PowerPoint that I've presented before at some copywriting workshops and actually as a webinar as well. So I just thought to come, well, this might be a great way to for you guys to be able to see and maybe jot down as we're talking. So it's not always just me and Carmel, sitting here having a gas bag. So
we do it so well.
We do it so well. So step number 1. So this is our formula. Step number 1 is to captivate. And we talked about this yesterday when we said like your number 1 job on anything in social media is to make sure the attention is coming to you. So step number 1 is to captivate and copy. Now we talk about the hook, and the hook is that first thing that is going to grab attention and hook them in. In social media, we can use a headline, or in social media, we actually find that the image can often be the hook, the stopping point. And if you think of that when you're scrolling, it's often the image or the video that stops you first, and then you might start engaging with the post more. So just keep that in mind. But whatever we're doing, the first thing we want to do is grab attention. So captivate. And I've just put a little note now. Oops. Sister's vibering me, turn that off. She always does this when I'm on a live call. I don't know how we time it. So a big juicy promise that speaks directly to your client's core desire to either move away from pain or to grab it towards pleasure. So we talked a little bit about desire. Was it yesterday or the day before when we were talking about what is copywriting?
The day before.
Yeah, so when it comes to a headline in particular, a good way to approach it is like, well, what can I promise to them? Are they going to move away from something? So maybe move away from pain, or are they going to gain something, maybe something towards pleasure? So grabbing attention. Let's go to the next one. Let's see how this works on here. There we go.
Yeah.
So step number 2, so is to connect with the reader. Now, we talked about ways of connecting yesterday as well, but a good way is to obviously describe the problem, the situation that they're experiencing right now, so that they know that you know what's going on in their world, right? Now, if we were aiming more at a pleasure, I would say connect with the pleasure, right? Or the desire. But for this instance, we're going to talk about the problem. So describe the problem that they're experiencing right now that you can solve. Now, we also talked about this idea that this problem that we lead with, especially for, say, a freebie post or a lead magnet, would be a slither problem, a Panadol problem, that urgent problem. Now, when we talk about the problem, we don't want to indicate that we think they're failing at something or anything like that. It's about showing empathy and compassion for them. And it's where the connection starts on an emotional level, because they're seeing that you understand their problem.
And showing them that they're not on their own. They're not
on their own.
Yeah.
No. So, and I often use this image when I am in a workshop, because I'm like, what would you write in a couple of sentences to let this mum know that you got the problem that she's experiencing right now? It's not saying she's a bad mum. It's saying, oh my God, are the kids driving you crazy? Like, whatever that is, feeling frustrated, feels like you're the only one and you don't know what to do next, something like that. I think everyone could get creative as to what she is feeling and the problem in the room. So step number 3 is to show some compassion. And this is where we can talk about maybe a bit of future facing. Like if they don't get their problem sorted or their desire satisfied, say, what happens next? So what's the consequences of not finding a solution to this problem? And what I always say is that often the problem at the start is kind of like that physical problem, or like, oh, the kids are driving me nuts sort of thing. Mm-hmm. But the consequences of that is actually, what does that problem make you feel? Yeah. So again, we talked about how the primal brain is the first part of the brain to really make those core purchasing and decisions. And that speaks more in an emotional language, not a rational, logical language, right? So talking about the feelings of what's going to happen, maybe worst case scenarios, allows you to hit these, what we call primary emotions. And it really is, again, it's working on that connection and making sure that they know that you understand what's really going on in their world. Often people at this stage go, well, what's a core need and what's a primary emotion? So I've just put a little list here. These are some of those emotions that the primal part of the brain, which we've talked about before, but the back end of the brain, the reptilian brain, the essentially unconscious part of the brain recognizes very fast, like very, very fast. So fear, joy, rejection, belonging, safety, happiness, anger, love, envy, pride. Like when we can get to know our avatar so well that we know what makes these emotions occur in them, either the situation or the feelings and that whole sort of scenario, we're getting very close to copywriting magic. Okay. So that's just something to think about, like what are causing these feelings in them. Now, the 4th step is where we actually reveal the key. And this is where you're allowed to talk about yourself, should you desire. But essentially the key is whatever you're offering. So if it's a free PDF, you can say, hey, I've got the free PDF of the top 10 tips to solve your problem, or whatever that is. So the key is your solution. It's either going to be you or the service or products that you're providing, or your lead magnet, however we're structuring this in the copy. So we're looking at, it's a key transition where we've kind of gone from like, hey, we understand what's going on in your world and it's kind of sucky, or we really want to get you further ahead. This is what I've found, or here's the solution I've found, or, you know, here's the PDF. So essentially you're showing how you can solve the problem and help them avoid those consequences, and ultimately fulfill the promise that you made in the headline as well. So it is a key step. Number 5 in the 6th step, so we're coming near the end, is we have to take it a bit further now. So they understand that we know their problem. They understand now that we have a solution. The next question is always like, well, does it work and why should I choose you, kind of thing, right? We have these like core questions that we need to solve. So I always at this stage love to go to the more compelling reasons why they should follow through on an action with you. And it's often discussing the results that they might get by using the solution. And we talk about tangible outcomes in this section. So what are they going to experience once their problem is fixed? And you can, that might be, you know, a set outcome. So we talk about money. Sometimes you might, you know, increase your revenue by 20% or something like that. Can be very tangible. That's a great one. But outcomes can also be slightly intangible, and they can again be the feelings, the changes in the feelings that these people may feel once they've got their hands on your product. So we can use emotionally charged language in this section to describe what they're going to get afterwards. I also love to tell people that it's this part, which is an ideal section to put any sort of testimonials, customer stories, customer results, because it's going to now back up your offer, your solution. You're going to be like, hey, grab this PDF. All my clients say this has worked for them, and so, you know, achieve this result. So yeah. It's just to remember the order of these steps. And then, of course, we can get to the last one, which we talked about on our very first call on Monday, I think it was, which was the call to action. So committing, we need to now make them commit to something. And if we think about what we're doing in terms of if we were doing this organic social media marketing strategy of a lead magnet going out as a freebie, we want them to commit. The commit really is to click on the link and go and put their email address into the box that you've got set up on the other page, right?
Yeah. Going back to one of our other videos is to get them on your list.
Get them on your list.
Vital. Yeah.
So it's very important to tell them exactly what to do next. And it surprises me still how vague some people can be as to what they want someone to do to get their hands on something. Yeah. It's also a big mistake when people put like 2 or 3 different options to get their hands on something or to follow the next step. So we only ever want to put one instruction.
Yeah, and don't make it hard for them that when they do click that, they have to click this and then click that and then click the other thing.
The more steps, really the more convoluted the process, the more likely they're just going to be like, this is too hard. No, not for me. Can't be bothered, sort of thing. So again, just one call to action. What do you want them to do? Are they going to click the button for download PDF? Maybe if that was like a paid ad, that would work. If it's something maybe in a group, it might be as simple as what do you use, Carmel, to get people to take action if you were posting into a
depends on where I'm posting it. So if I'm posting it into a Facebook group, quite often now it might be that I want them to come to me for a 30-minute call, for example, and it'll be click the link and book your time now. And I would put my calendar link. Or if it's a free PDF or a free something like that, it's click the link and receive it now. Like it's literally click the link and get it now.
Yeah. So that's if it's automated. We talk about, you know, there's no freedom in doing it Flintstones, right? So that's when you've got your automated sort of, what if someone was watching and they don't have automation set up?
Quite often they can put it, there's 2 different things and I've tried both of them. So if it's a social media post, you can say, comment below, I'm in, or yes, please, or blah, 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 or whatever that is, or private message me. I would never do 2. I would never say comment below or private message me. I would decide on comment below or I would decide on private message me. The reason that I use private message me sometimes was it was a post I was trialing. I wasn't sure if I'd get lots of comments. So you don't want to look like you haven't got lots of comments. So you go private message me. So that's a cool way of making sure that if people don't put lots of comments underneath it, you still know if that post is working or not. It's a good way of
that social proof aspect of it, isn't it? Like the one you shared yesterday had 31 comments.
And there was only 7 spots available.
As the comments were coming in, and it was boosting your authority already because it was getting high engagement. People were like, what's going on? I want it too. If you're concerned, or like you say, if you're just starting out and you don't know, it's probably better to do the, what is it, PM me if you want it now, because then no one knows how many people interacted or not.
Yeah. And it's a good way for you to test if that's getting, like, I mean, obviously, if your private message goes, woof, you go, wow, that really touched on all the points I needed it to. So, you know, you don't have to, also you can use the private message me one, not just for that. If maybe sometimes it's a bit more of a vulnerable post, that somebody has to be admitting that they need help in an area that they may not want to admit in public. So giving them the option to private message you is easier. So for example, I had a conversation with somebody the other day and they were talking about a confidence course or something like that. And I said, well, your high-end corporate person that you're trying to talk to won't admit that they need help with confidence, although they may, because they'd lose face by admitting that. So having something like that was targeted at those people with a private message me might get you more results. So that's the kind of time. But look, this copywriting thing, I remember hearing about it first and going, oh my God, it takes so much time. And yes and no is the answer to that. It does take some time to learn the process, but, and Sarah knows what I'm going to say, the process is the process. That once you start doing it, it's like me, I'm uploading some videos in YouTube and there's a way of keywording, which is a whole other thing that we can teach you. But the process is the process. So I'm now much faster at it, for example. I'm finding what works, what doesn't work. It's the same, and it's a form of copywriting and what you have to actually put into that text box in your video. It's not just the video that goes into it. So yes, it does take a bit of practice, but it's like anything, you know, how quickly did you learn how to ride a bicycle? Once you know this process and whatever works for you, the brain dump, whatever makes the creative juices go, and then you put this structure beside it, and actually slot them in, you'll find the missing bits, and you'll find the bits that attach them together as well. You know, that one extra sentence that you don't just say this, and by the way, I can help you. You know, you go, oh, well, I was struggling too until I found, and then you can transition into it. So imagine having, and this is what's been amazing for me, is having experienced people with eyes on your bloody message. So that's what I've learned so much about copywriting from Sarah, from trial and error. Every now and again, she's like, "You're actually really good at copywriting." I go, "Am I?" And but it's only because
it's repetition.
It becomes an unconscious competence. We actually mentioned that yesterday. So when you're in that environment with somebody else that knows how to do it, it's really, really beneficial to speed up the process. So if you're like me, I haven't got time to learn all this stuff. It's actually easier than you think when you've got somebody beside you and looking at it. So tomorrow, we're actually going to be, I just fell off my words there. We're going to give you the opportunity to get feedback on your promo post. So if you actually want to bring it in and get some live feedback in the call, just comment below, bring it on. Can you see one call to action? Comment below, bring it on. If you want the opportunity to actually have your own post, bring it into us. We'll do it. Obviously, you want to do it live, that's fine. If not, still do the bring it on. We can always arrange for another way for you to get our eyes on it. It doesn't have to be necessarily in the public forum if you don't want to do that. But bring it in, we'll do it live. No matter who it is that brings it in, if you're watching, you'll still get benefit from it, because you'll see us not just talking about our own post or whatever. You'll see somebody else's that we won't know a bar of it until we're live on the call. And you'll see some of that process of, okay, you've given us this, let's put it into that structure and elongate it and see what we come out with. So that'll be interesting. She'll be doing that, by the way.
I know it's going to be doing it live.
Yeah.
Here's someone taking us up on the offer.
Yeah, if you put in, bring it on. Now, if you're watching this on YouTube later, obviously that opportunity won't be there for you to do it live, but there will be an opportunity there for you to have it done. So make sure, bring it on wherever you see this, bring it on under it, and we'll make sure that you have the opportunity to get our eyes, especially her eyes, on your copy. Cool. So for now, guys, it's bye from us.
Bye.